The first thing we got is the Bears are still bringing in quarterback candidates. They brought it now they're not, huge guys. I mean, we're starting off with Mason Fine from North Texas. That seemed like everybody on Bears Twitter was hyping up. This is going to be the savior of the team, Mason Fine. No, but he's a quarterback from North Texas, and his film is decent. He definitely has some good qualities to him. But we also are bringing in Kyle Slaughter, who you guys might recognize. He kind of bounced around on training camp squads this past season, but he was a preseason superstar last year. That's what everyone's calling him. He did look really good. He has qualities to be desired from the quarterback position. And kind of like my take is this could be just solely because of coronavirus and everything, like trying to, get some guys that you're comfortable with and some guys that you either know or want to have on your training camp squad or your practice squad or whatever. But ultimately, the Bears are still looking for something out of their quarterback position. They're still looking for something that they believe they don't have right now. And I know we constantly bring up, why didn't they just sign Cam Newton? His deal is so cheap and incentive laden in New England. Like we could have had 3 quality potential starters on this roster. Hey, even Jameis Winston, say what you want about Jameis, but I mean the $1 to $2 million contract that he signed in New Orleans, are you kidding me? That seems like any team should want that.
Yeah, I think purely what this is, and I could be wrong, I think purely what this is what you mentioned with potentially nabbing a practice squad player out of one of them, whichever one they prefer or like. And on the other is just getting more in-house scouting on them, getting a lot of reps, more tape on them to get knowledge on them. If this really was something, I really hope it's not something significant, is what I want to say. I hope that this really isn't looking for a QB3.
2021 starter.
First off, the Bears don't really... Yeah, I really hope this isn't... Because the Bears don't need a QB3 right now. I think that getting one for the practice squad, I totally get. But if it's something serious, this is the kind of half-ass effort at trying to develop a quarterback. If they end up hanging on to one that I was talking about, that just infuriates me. You had all the chance in the world to go out there late in the draft and pick someone up. You had all the, in prior on undrafted free agency to go out there and get some players that had some amazing qualities. And now, the tryout situation comes along, which I think is good. The Bears should exercise the use to be able to go out and have some of these tryouts and get, these workouts and, a deeper look at some of these players. But, if they end up really hanging on to one and burning a roster spot on one of these players, I'm actually going to be disappointed.
I mean, they had the opportunity to grab Jake Fromm in the 4th round. You could have gotten a damn good college quarterback, someone who was really highly respected, someone who was talked about as potentially a 1st-round pick in the 5th round.
At some point.
Well, yeah, not in this previous draft, but years prior, people talked about him as potentially a 1st-round pick, and someone who's been shown to be pretty consistent. And you let that opportunity slip, but then you go out and you try to snag, Mason Fine, an undrafted superstar, whatever. It doesn't make a lot of sense, and it wouldn't be good for this Bears team if that is what they're trying to do. But ultimately, obviously, hope that these guys do the best. Hope they end up absolutely destroying hopefully they become the number 1 quarterback and just absolutely kill Mitchell Trubisky and Nick Foles. But I don't see that as necessarily happening.
Yeah, and getting back to what you said, before I kind of had my own little, detour off what
you were saying, I think, if they're really looking to look for a QB3, then, why didn't you go out and get any of these free agents, whether it be Cam Newton, maybe Cam Newton was saying, hey, I want to be the starter, so they don't want to bring that in. They didn't want to have a 3-horse race for quarterback. But someone like Jameis Winston, a lot of people have negative opinions on him. I really liked him in college. I will admit, in the pros, he has been a letdown. Does turn over the ball way too much. At the same time, though, if we were looking for someone that's actually going to be that 3rd quarterback, then Jameis Winston would have been a lot more reliable than either of these two. And I think that some of our listeners, they hear us constantly go on and on about needing quarterback development, may be confused by, at least what I'm saying, kind of shooting down this idea. It's just because to me, this is just something that's so typical of this Bears team, as being someone that's followed them for so long. It's just, if it was an actual effort, which, I really don't think it is. Like I said, I think it's just a matter of internal scouting. But if it was an actual effort to go out there and get a developmental piece, it's just so lackadaisical. It's just so phoned in.
Yeah, and we talk extensively on this podcast about, kind of Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy's, sometimes their desire to kind of half-ass certain efforts that they do. And I'm sure it's not that they aren't trying, but it's one of those things where they want to do it, but they're trying to take the safe route. They're trying to do, this is the known, and not really, taking that huge chance like they did with Khalil Mack, which has looked like one of the best moves in Chicago sports history, period. Right? One of the best moves, and going to be one of the most memorable moves in Chicago sports history ever, right? I mean, Khalil Mack's going to go into the Hall of Fame with a Bears helmet on. So it's very sad that, if this was going to be like a real QB battle, I would have thought that they would have thrown in maybe one more guy. And I understand there's only a certain amount of snaps that could be shared around. You can't really have 3 starters, but hey, going into training camp, have 3 guys. After the first couple weeks, cut one of them. And the thing that I think, what I truthfully believe is the reason why they didn't do that is because Mitch Trubisky would probably be the one cut.
Yeah, no, probably. I think there's some real truth to that, and that was the last thing they wanted to have happen. So,
yeah, it would make the Bears look very, very bad. So, but ultimately, at the end of the day, I don't really see Mason Fine sticking on this roster. I could see Kyle Slaughter getting a contract, though, from us and maybe becoming that third quarterback. But for right now, neither of them are under contract, and we're just going to have to see what kind of goes about this. This is going to be a really exciting week for the Bears this week. Hey guys, like our video, subscribe, and check out our bi-weekly podcasts on Apple Podcasts. Thanks.